This tank is the KV5. It's a Russian Tier 8 premium tank, and the map is Himmelsdorf. And this is absolutely an amazing game. It's one of the best games I've had in a long time. At this point, I'm actually, I switched to the desktop because I was having some lag, and I was trying to adjust to see if I could figure out what the lag was like. That's why I accidentally hit that SU-100. I wasn't actually playing the game, so obviously I just got back in. Now what I'm going to do after I kill this tank, this is Himmelsdorf, it's an encounter mode. I am going to go all the way to the south on the enemy side. I'm going to climb the hill. I'm going to sneak up on the enemy from behind. I'm going to kill lots of tanks, and it's going to be a thrilling game. There's so many thrilling things that happen. That's why this is a good replay, and you're going to be so happy that you watched it. Now obviously I used a repair kit. Maybe it wasn't the best idea. It's not going to matter. You'll notice that there's an AMX-12T. I just kind of ignored him.
Target acquired.
And look at that, 731 damage from a ram and a shoot. And the SU-152, he's going to probably do some damage to me also. Just wanted to show you that he was there.
One of our tracks is damaged. Track hit. Enemy armor is damaged. We're immobilized. Enemy armor is hit. One of our tracks is damaged. Enemy armor is destroyed.
Okay, so he was killed, and you notice that when I played, I would ram him and shoot, and sometimes when I rammed him at full speed, I was able to get a couple hundred damage, and when I did it at low speed, I was only getting like 50 here and there. So I came around the corner. I guess the SU-152 didn't do any damage to me, and the AMX-12T did not do any damage to me. Came around the corner, see the Jag Panzer up at the top of the cliff. Entertainment abounds.
Target acquired.
But I'm just going to ignore him and move on. He's not going to slow me down. Because I made a mistake by releasing the target. That's not something that I wanted to do. And there he goes. So you can see that the Jag Panzer jumped off the cliff. Let's see if we can get a lock on that. There he is. So he basically gave up. At that point, he just sat there and did nothing. And I was kind of hoping that the other tank would jump off the cliff too, but he didn't. So let's see what happens.
Penetration.
And you'll notice that I had to spin the tank around before I shot him because I had to watch both directions. So now I'm making my way. We're going to spot the SPG, which I could have killed right there. Maybe it wasn't such a bad idea. You can see the SPG is right behind me. But I figured I was safe. He was on the other side of those buildings. Okay, so we're getting up to the top of the hill. They're actually on. The enemy team is actually on pretty good health right now.
Assistance has been requested.
And maybe they're even outperforming my team. It looks like their hit pool is a lot better. You'll also notice that I switched to the HE rounds.
Ready to fire.
In this case, I switched targets because, for one reason, the T-34-3 has less hit points, which obviously means I increase the chance I'm going to kill him. And second of all, he's showing me his rear, while the Indian Panzer, I think, would have been a side shot. So I figured it had a bigger chance of doing damage and setting him on fire, which is why I switched targets.
Enemy vehicle destroyed. Target acquired. Critical hit. Enemy armor is destroyed.
And these guys have no idea I'm going to hit them.
Penetration. Target
on 4 kills.
Critical hit. Critical hit.
Ah, what a pain.
One of our tracks is damaged. Enemy vehicle destroyed.
Yeah, that was friendly artillery coming in. At the time, I thought it was the enemy artillery. So now the IS-6 down there, right now he has 1 kill. He's the one to watch out for. He's going to get 5,500 damage when he's done with this game. Now, I've been spotted. I was focused on trying to get that IS-6. I think I'm just going to barely miss hitting him in the tail. I'm not going to even, I don't even know if I'm going to take a shot. But what you're going to notice is that there's an artillery on the hill coming behind me, and unfortunately I did not notice the enemy SPG.
Target acquired. Critical hit.
That was a very, very close shot. The only reason why I turned around is because one of my allies, holy cow, one of my allies alerted me on the minimap that there was the SPG behind me, and if he hadn't done that, he would have nailed me hard. But that SPG is not going to last long. So the IS-6 on the ground, he is up to 2 kills on the enemy team there. And I have 6 kills, which means I have the Top Gun. And there was where I made a little bit of a mistake trying to line up that shot.
Ricochet.
So the enemy IS-6 has 2 kills, and unfortunately he's going to get 4 more. At this point I wasn't sure what to do. Where the IS-6 is located, he's at the C3 position. So I thought, okay, there's a chance he's going to come through that opening, and if he does, I'm going to take a shot at him. So I tried reversing up the hill to get the best chance. But what he's actually doing is he went to A1. But from A1 I can still hit him. As long as he stays spotted, if he crosses that gap, I want to be able to hit him. You can see he has 4 kills now. And look how close he came. I probably should have taken a shot. So you can see that my team is asking me to move. 2 of the members of my team are asking me to move. I was, I don't know, maybe another second or 2 close from hitting him. What I could have done was just taken a wild shot, maybe see if I could miss. But he could have been anywhere on those rails. So I sat here for a while, and they did not spot the IS-6. So it's kind of wasting time. So at this point I decided I had waited long enough. He's not going to cross over. I'll go down below and kill him. I had more hit points. He is on the base now, so I did miss him. Actually, what happened was I thought I would spot him, but I forgot that the yellow line is not the spotting range. It was a complete mistake that I had made. You know, don't make that mistake very often. So I was stupid to think he was going to get spotted, and I came down, And I asked my allies to wait for me. If they had waited for me, then obviously we would have increased our chance of finishing off the IS-6 easily. So he gets his 5th kill. And that's where I asked him to wait for me. I don't have any more high explosive rounds. One of the things that happened during the game, this is where the action is going to begin, is I actually was very confused during the battle because when I stopped on the tracks, it's going to spin my tank around because of the physics of the game. And I didn't realize I ran out of HE rounds. I wanted to use HE rounds to do some damage on him. With a couple of shots of HE, I really could have whittled him down.
Ready to fire. We didn't even scratch them.
So I know a lot of people complain about using the auto aim. What I usually do is I take a shot with the auto aim first. If it works, you're golden. You know, you take the win. If not, then I aim manually.
Target released. Get
That was a
going.
lousy shot.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
One of my allies says that he thought I was a bot with 6 kills.
Critical hit.
So on that one, I don't know if I was confused, but I think that might have been the shot where I thought I hit him on the lower plate and it didn't penetrate. So I was really concerned about how I was going to kill this guy. And I was hoping that the MT-25 would go around behind him and flank him, but unfortunately he didn't do that. So my only other option is to hit the IS-6 from the side or from behind, but you know, he's not coming out. Or to find a plate that's favorable to me.
That one didn't go through.
Okay, so there was a lower plate shot that did not penetrate. And now he has 327 hit points, and I have 331 hit points. So I went into this, I don't know how many hit points I had, but I was around half. I probably had 800 hit points when I came into this battle. And now we're 2-on-1. Let's see how that works out. And I know I got to get close to him. Okay, that's where, because I stopped over the tracks, I didn't do anything special. But just from going over the tracks, it kind of spun my tank around. And so I missed that shot.
We didn't even scratch them.
That would have been great with a high explosive round. The MT-25 just got killed as he tried to come around. So the IS-6 now has 6 kills, and I happen to know he's got 5,500 damage. Let's see how this turns out.
We didn't even
Ouch!
scratch them.
I hit him right on that plate, right there. Now, maybe I should have hit him on the side. Maybe that was a mistake that I made. But I just thought for sure, you know, if I hit him right there on that plate, I'm going to get a penetration, and this is using APCR.
Target acquired. Enemy is hit. Enemy armor is destroyed.
And that's the game. So obviously I was able to get a shot on him at the side, and he rammed into my tank, which caused enough damage to him that it ended the game. So that's the game. The tank is the KV5, the map is Himmelsdorf, and this is in encounter mode. I got 7 kills, I did 4,200 damage. This tank is the KV5. It's a Russian Tier 8 heavy tank. It's also a premium tank. You'll see that I used the crew from my T10 and my IS-4. And you'll notice that a lot of them are named Antonov, and that's the name I give to all of my crew members who are zero-skill BIA crew members. And I've got 5 out of 6 of them are zero-skill BIA, so I'm leveling them up right now to try and get them caught up with the rest of my crew. I use a standard loadout with this crew as with any other tank. I use Sixth Sense. I'm using Jack of all trades, and Jack of all trades is nice, but it's not a complete replacement for your first aid kit. I'm having issues because I don't have the first aid kit. I do use the snapshot. BIA and snapshot is a necessity on this tank because the aim and the dispersion is just absolutely horrible. You want anything that you can get on this tank to make the gun aim better. So snapshot is one of the things you're going to have. And I use concealment because I'm always on the front lines and I need to be able to hide. So I also use smooth ride, which improves your dispersion and aiming time. And I use off-road driving. Off-road driving helps the tank turn around and makes you go faster. I absolutely love it. I've put it on as many tanks as I can. The KV5 has a very slow traverse speed. So you want clutch braking and smooth and off-road driving, and I recommend off-road driving first, which will help your traverse speed, and then clutch braking second. For the radio operator, I have situational awareness, which allows me to see a little bit further, and I do use firefighting. If you've got firefighting up to 100% on 1 or 2 crew members, it will save you if you catch on fire and you're at full health, and I do not use a fire extinguisher. This tank has 2 loaders. I love having 2 loaders. With 2 loaders, you can have more perks with fewer skills. So for example, I've only got 3 skills with my 2 loaders, but I could easily have safe stowage and adrenaline rush, even though I don't. But I could easily have done that. But that is an ideal layout, and that is what I recommend. I recommend having one with safe stowage and the other one with adrenaline rush. The only reason why I don't is because I did not reset the skills. He probably came from another position that was not a loader. It does have a tier 7 gun on a tier 8 tank, which means the penetration is actually quite low. I use the APCR rounds very often with this tank. If you're going up against other tier 8 tanks, you're going to have to use APCR rounds or get beside them and use HE rounds. You have to use the enhanced gun laying drive and the V-stab. If you know me, I've got 115 tanks, and the number that I have, the V-stab and the gun laying drive, is probably less than 10. I have them on some of the Chinese tanks, on this tank, and I just added it to my T-34, and some of the TDs that have problems, like the Russian TDs. And the reason why is because without it, you just forget it in terms of aiming. You're just going to be completely lost. And I use vents because it also helps with the aiming and the aiming speed and a wide variety of other things. In terms of ammunition, I have 25 regular rounds, 25 APCR, and 10 high explosive. The gun is not that great of a gun. Maybe if I had to do it over again, I think I would increase the number of HE rounds and make it more even. Because it's very rare that you're going to shoot 25 rounds in one game, but I have done it. I use a small repair kit, the large repair kit, and I use the engine power consumable, which is the Lend-Lease oil. I use that on a large number of my tanks. I highly recommend it. I did purchase it when it was on discount, so I have a large supply of them. I do recommend using 2 repair kits instead of using repairs on crew skills. I rarely use both repair kits in a game, however I do use them. And when you have the large repair kit, it does give you a bonus 10% to repair speed. And of course I have camo on it. I've got the camo paint on all of my premium tanks. Now the KV5 is like a Russian tank that is called the KV4. I'm going to pull up the Russian tech tree. You can see you have the KV1 and the T150 and the KV3 and the KV4. So if you want to see what the KV5 is like and perhaps test drive it, you could pull up a KV4, drive this around, and it's going to give you some idea of what the KV5 is like, even though it's not going to be identical. In terms of other tanks that are tier 8 heavy tanks, how does it compare? The KV5 has great armor, and you're going to bounce tons of shots, even though it has some weak spots over here. But I believe they just announced a buff where they buffed the armor on this tank. It is slow and sluggish. If you're on paved surfaces, you're going to do pretty good. Otherwise, I highly recommend anything to add power. The aim is just absolutely horrible. If you like to brawl it out, you're going to be good defending yourself. But the gun is awful. You might end up buying a lot of APCR rounds if you play this tank. In comparison to the other tanks, I'm going to say that it's not that great of a tank. There's other heavy tanks that are better. The T-34, probably a better tank. The WZ-111 absolutely is a better tank. I would rather play a WZ-111 or an IS-3A. The 112 just got a buff, which makes it better. The IS-6 is a little bit more on the low end, but the IS-6 is a fun tank to play, and the KV5 is good if you like to ram a lot of people and you want to bully people. Then I would definitely recommend it, but it's definitely a little bit more on the lower mediocre side. To do a comparison of all the tier 8 heavy tanks, or at least all the ones that I have, the best gun is going to be the T-34. And the T-34 turret armor, if you're hull down, is one of the strongest turrets you're going to get in the game. So the T-34 is absolutely a wonderful heavy tank. The KV5 lacks and everything. It's got probably the worst gun. The armor is good. You know, you're going to be able to drive around with great armor. The engine power is kind of irrelevant because the tank is so heavy. It definitely has a lot of hit points, but in terms of armor, all around the OHO is going to be the strongest armored tank compared to all the other tier 8s. And if you want speed and mobility, you have to go with the FCM 50T. When you compare the KV5 to other tanks that are similar, such as the KV4 and the KV3, you're going to find that the KV4 is very, very, very similar. Sorry, the KV5 and the KV4 are very, very, very similar. There's going to be some small differences, such as the extra hit points, the aiming time. That might be because of the equipment that I have added on to it. And it's got, you know, more power and the spotting range. But other than that, you know, you're going to get a similar gun. You're going to get similar armor. It's going to be very similar to the KV4. So you can use the KV4 to get a test drive for what the KV5 is like. And obviously the KV5 being a premium tank, you get all the advantages with the extra crew experience and cheaper to repair, and you make more credits, etc. And also, you can buy the KV5 whenever you want. You don't have to research it.